right. All right. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. All rise and face the east. Please put your feet at a 45-degree angle. Hold up 2 fingers on the right, 5 on the left, and repeat after me. Allah.
Allah.
The Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
Love.
Truth. Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night and by day.
By night and by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen. It's fine.
Mom, I want to announce that the meeting is now open. First and foremost, we rise to give the highest praise to the Most High, Father of the universe, Allah. We give honors to our divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali, for bringing us our divine creed and nationality so that we may learn to love instead of hate. We give honors to the forerunner to the prophet, our brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey, for preparing the way for him. We also give honors to all the 8F sheiks and all the faithful Moors that make up the grand body of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. Honors to the first appointed Supreme Grand Sheikh, our brother E. Millie Ill, and honors to our current Supreme Grand Sheikh, our brother K. Dandrigel. Honors to the Grand Council of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and honors to all you ills and bays in attendance. Islamism. Brother Jackson Bay, would you please read the Divine Constitution and Bylaws?
Praise Allah. Honors to the Prophet. Honors to you Muslims. Can y'all hear me?
Islam.
Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting and forming humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Noble Drew Ali founded Moorish American Prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, home office of Noble Drew Ali, home office Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism. All right, thank you, brother. All right. Okay, today we're going to be in chapter 26 of the Moorish Holy Quran. And that is the holy instructions on unity. Hang on a second. All right. Hang on 1 second. All right, as we get started, chapter 26 is page 36 in your Holy Quran. Okay. All right, so as we get started, it's important to understand our Holy Covenant. That's the relations that bind us, and we need to know the importance of it, right? Before we did the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation, okay? That was chapter 25. We read it and then discussed it briefly. What is the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic nation? Does anybody remember? It's a sacred oath that binds Moorish Americans into a brotherhood, sisterhood, into an Umma, right? Umma is the Arabic word for a nation or a community. All right. So our Holy Covenant is the sacred oath that binds Moorish Americans into the sacred brotherhood. And then, of course, Moorish Americans are a nation of people. We're one of the Asiatic nations in North America. Okay. And this sacred oath, right? That's what keeps the nation together, the bonds of affection. And in chapter 25, talks about how you recognize the bonds of affection through acts of assistance, preferring not a stranger before thine own blood, right? Love and unity. And then that leads right into chapter 26, holy instructions on unity. All right, so we have to understand what the covenant is. Like, that's important. We need to know what this is, how it works. We have a sacred oath that binds us together. All right, so we need to know what it is. We need to be able to put it into action to make the covenant real, because that's what empowers us in real life. Like, for example, it's not paperwork, it's not legal filings and things like this that save us. Not saying that we can't do things like that. Just saying that's not it, right? What's paperwork if the people that's trying to do paperwork and trying to do all this stuff are still shady? You can't even trust them around your children, right? We're supposed to have sacred, bonds. There's certain things that we don't do, and especially to our own, right? That's what binds us. That's what makes us powerful. That's what empowers us. That's what makes the covenant real. There's certain things that Moorish Americans won't do. We're supposed to be able to trust each other, If I drop some money on the ground, you're not supposed to try to get it without nobody seeing you and then bounce, right? So that's what separates us then from, people who don't have this, who don't have the nationality, who don't have what we have. Okay. And so, and then that information isn't available online. That's why we come together on the holy day, right? The 6th day, like we discussed a couple times on that Kabbalah chart, the 6th day, right? We come together to study this because this information isn't available online, right? It's not necessarily out there in the streets, but this is of the utmost importance. So, you have to be discerning with the info that you come across online, because that stuff's reckless. They're not teaching you about the bonds that of affection and these things that really empower us, because we move as a unit, because there's certain things we don't do to each other, right? That's where our power is. That's where our saving power is in coming together within our society, which is an Islamic nation state, understanding our society and our government. We have to understand civics of the United States of America, as well as the civics within our society. And then we have to understand our holy covenant and our divine origin, and we have to return to our divine creed. Okay. And so that's how we can move and be successful as a nation. So then coming into the holy instructions of unity, the first question, that I'm thinking when I come to this is unity with what, right? Holy instructions of unity with what? This is a real short chapter. It's only 10 verses. What's the unity that it's talking about? I'm thinking it's unity of thought with the higher self. And before we read this, if you skip ahead, if we go to chapter 45, divine origins of the Asiatic nation. Hang on. Okay, yeah, we go to chapter 45, right? It says the key can somebody read verse 2? What's the prophet setting us up for? Brother Cole Bay, can you read verse 2? Oh, okay.
The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, the Moorish, who were ancient Moabites, and the founder of the holy city of Mecca.
Islam. So the prophet's letting us know, right? The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations, and that's us, the Moorish, right? So this is letting us know in the past and in the present. So the situation, the things that are going on, they're not going to get fixed except for through us. And so we have to experience, right, this unity, the unity of thought with alignment with our higher self, so that we can rule as our ancestors did in their higher points in their greatness, right? So we have to align back to that higher thought or unity with the higher self, so that we can rule from the higher self. And just to hit on that again too, in chapter 1, the creation and fall of man, right? Once again, the prophet is setting us up for something. Okay, says man is the Lord of all the plane of manifest, of protoplasm, of mineral, of plant, of beast, but he gave up his birthrights just to gratify his lower self. But man will regain his lost estate, his heritage, but he must do it in conflict and cannot be told in words. He may suffer trials and temptations manifold, but let him know that the cherubim and seraphim that rule the stations of the sun and spirit of the mighty Allah who rule the solar stars are his protectors and his guide, and they will lead to victory. So victory is assured. Man will be fully saved, redeemed, and perfected by the things he suffers on the plane of flesh and on the plane of soul. All right, and that's in chapter 1 of creation and fall of man. So we're returning to a higher state, and we're to be the rulers of this. right? Because what did the prophet say in chapter 45? The key of civilization was and is in the hands of the Asiatic nations. So if things are crazy right now, messed up right now, it's because we're messed up right now. It's just a out picturing of our own mindset of how we're living, where we're at. We're the low state. And so that's the whole world is affected by it. All right. The Moorish, who were the ancient Moabites and the founders of the holy city of Mecca. That's who we are. We are who our ancestors were. Right. So it's on us. Okay. And so we have the holy instructions of unity. That's unity of thought with the higher self. Okay. So that's my portion on it. So going on to verse 1, the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah, and he appointed to everyone his portion, in what measure seemeth good unto himself. Hath he endowed thee with wisdom? Hath he enlightened thy mind with the knowledge of truth? Communicated to the ignorant for their instruction, and communicated to the wise for thine own improvement. Right? True wisdom is less presuming than folly. The wise man doubteth often and changeth his mind. The fool is obstinate and doubteth not. He knoweth all things but his own ignorance. All right. And the pride of emptiness is an abomination, and to talk much is the foolishness of folly. Nevertheless, it is the part of wisdom to hear with patience their impertinence and to pity their absurdity. Yet be not puffed up in thine own conceit, neither boast of superior understanding. The clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly. So once again, these are instructions, holy instructions for unity. And I'm adding to this because it says holy instructions of unity, but I'm trying to put this in a perspective. The unity with what? Unity of thought with the higher self, right? So how do you do this? How do you maintain this? We're getting instructions on how to unify with the higher self, how to rule from the higher self, right? There's a picture. There's a picture from ancient Egypt where you have, I think, Thoth and I think Osiris, where he's like stepping on a serpent, right? And it's just another symbol, one of several symbols of the higher self ruling over the lower self, or beast man. When Jesus rode the donkey into Jerusalem, it's another example of the higher self ruling over the lower self, right? Pretty much anytime you see that too, like in the Koran, in the Bible, someone riding an animal or subduing an animal, that's the just showing you the proper order of things. And these are, once again, holy instructions of unity. So these are instructions on how to accomplish this, how to dwell in the higher self. So moving on to verse 6. The wise man feeleth his own imperfections and is humbled. He laboreth in vain for his own approbation. Let me look that word up real quick. Don't see that word too often, right? If somebody could pull up a definition faster than me, feel free to share. Hang on. Okay. Hang on. Approbation. Okay, so, all right, approbation, I'm seeing approval or praise. All right, so the wise man feeleth his imperfections and is humbled. he laboreth in vain for his own approbation. So that's approval or praise. But the fool peepeth in the shadow stream of his own mind, and is pleased with the pebbles which he seeth at the bottom. He bringeth them up and showeth them as pearls, and with the applause of his brethren delighteth himself. Okay. He boasteth in attainment of attainments and things that are of no worth, but where it is a shame to be ignorant, there he hath no understanding. Right? And this is, just the opposite of what we're being pushed towards, right? Even now in 2020, right? It's the end times. We're still being pushed to praise, just physical gain, shoes, red bottoms, Louis Vuitton, all this stuff. Moving on, Islam.
Peace and love. I rise and give thanks and praises to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to you Moors in attendance. What came to mind on 5, verse 5 is that yet be not puffed in thine own conceit, neither boast of superior understanding. Clear as human knowledge is but blindness and folly. Would this kind of connect with moderation as far as what you study and what you could possibly teach someone? Islam.
I rise and give perfect praise to Allah, honors to his prophet Noble Ali, honors to all you Moors in attendance. You see where it says human knowledge? So this is talking about, that limits us. We're more than just the flesh, Islam. We're also the soul and the spirit. So there is knowledge on both of those planes that as, mere mortals, we're stuck in our lower selves. We do not get to attain that knowledge. And that's why we study. That's why we go into the temples and we learn knowledge of self, and we learn a lot in man so that we can, live in the knowledge and the wisdom of our higher selves, which has access to the higher knowledges or degrees.
Islam. And my take on that on verse 5, and this is my take on it. So somebody else may have more wisdom to share, but yet be not puffed up in thine own conceit, neither boast of superior understanding. We get that, right? Don't be conceited or think that you know it all. And but the next side, the clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly. That could be kind of confusing. But as the sister was saying, even the things that we think, sound so smart, or like, some of the human knowledge that we have, maybe from reading or learning, we think that it's so on point. But as it's saying here, it's but blindness and folly. It's limited. It's only a portion of what reality really is. So as you said, brother, don't take it too far as thinking you're so smart or you're better than other people, maybe because you've attained a lot of learning, because you've gotten degrees or you've read a lot, because it's only a portion of, of what really comprises our reality. So we still have a long ways to go.
Islam, the gifts of the first line said, not to cut your wisdom off, but first line says the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah. So that kind of answers my question, because when you think about it, a lot of people who think that they're so smart and full of knowledge and they can show people the way and all of this good stuff, like, it's really, even if that the stuff that they're trying to show is correct, whether it's correct or not, it's kind of, you got to have moderation in your mind, or unity in the mind. So, people can either catch up to the knowledge and or whether or not they catch up, that's up to them. And you got to kind of like let people live their life for real, like take their time, or you'll end up confusing the person. And that's not what the temple is about. That's not what Prophet Jirali, taught us.
Islam, definitely, you're on point, because if trying to give information or something that maybe I think or you or somebody else thinks is so great to someone else, and it's they're not, it's not really for them, you just gonna wind up beating your head up against the wall, right? So yeah, like you said, to each his own. And as it says, he appointed to everyone his portion, and what measure seemeth good unto himself, right? So everybody has their own genius, their own things that they were gifted by Allah, right? And all of these things are gifts from Allah, right? So it's not something to take too far, thinking that you're so great because you know this and that. All right. So let me see. Going back in here to verse 8. Even in the path of wisdom, he toileth after folly, and shame and disappointment are the rewards of his labor. But the wise man cultivates his mind with knowledge. The improvement of the arts is his delight, and their utility to the public crowneth with honor. Nevertheless, the attainment of virtue he accounteth as the highest learning, and the science of happiness is the study of his life. And remember the attainment of virtue. All right. We're told or taught the 12 virtues in here as well. And when we're taught the 12 virtues, we're given steps that you can take to gain mastery over your lower self. And with each virtue that you are able to attain, you get that much closer to subduing the lower self. All right. Does anybody remember what the 12 virtues are? I'll put it up on the screen.
Islam, I think I got it over the head. I ain't gonna look. I think it's obedience, modesty, gratitude, charity, moderation, prudence, justice, sincerity, diligence, benevolence, science, and religion.
All right, Islam.
Islam, she get muted.
Islam, sorry about that. Islam, yeah, that's on point. That's it. So yeah, I was still trying to pull up the picture showing the wheel with the 12 virtues on it, but that's it. And so it's saying in here that the attainment of virtue he accounteth as the highest learning. Why? Because this is how you can get back to can regain your birthrights. This is how you can unify with the higher self. So this chapter is holy instructions of unity. Unity with what? With the higher self. Unity of thought, right? Aligning our thoughts with our higher self, ruling from the higher self. In here we're taught basically how the unity is maintained, and it's maintained through communications. All right. And the communications essential to unity because that's the flow of knowledge, divine and earthly, to and fro between the wise and the ignorant, right? For the benefit of both. And then in here, we were given the dominant characteristic of the wise, right? And let's see, the dominant characteristic of the wise is that he's going to be doubting himself often and changing his mind, right? He, she doubts often and changes his or her mind. However, the fool, they do what? What does the fool do? They know everything, but their own ignorance, right? Islam. So these are, good things to keep in mind. Remember, these are holy instructions of unity. And these are instructions on how to unify with your higher self. All right. So, if we apply these 10 steps to our life on a regular basis and controlling our thoughts, we will see the benefits of it, because you will be aligning yourself with your higher self, and the thoughts that come through now coming from the higher self. So success, prosperity, all those things will be guaranteed. Islam?
Islam.
All right, Islamism. So yeah, if anybody has anybody wants to demonstrate the 5 principles, feel free to speak up. I yield the floor.
Islam. Y'all way too quiet on this holy day.
Islam. I rise giving perfect praise to Allah, honor to the Prophet in the 134th year. Douglas L. did an immaculate job today. I never looked at it from the unity. I always took this chapter as how to be unity between I get myself and people that I take as fools. I guess how to navigate. But I never would think of it unifying my higher self. So that was a different dope look. The only thing I take from this, not the only thing, but the major thing before tonight I took after this is just not to be puffed up in thy own pride. We're puffed up in thy own conceit, and don't think you always know everything. That's what this brings. It humbles me, and sometimes I don't always display that. But now that you guys, you explained it like that, I definitely can apply it in a different way, and just know that I don't know everything, and I could be a fool, especially if sometimes I talk and I get long winded and realizing, nobody wants to hear that, Jason. You feel me? No matter if it is the truth. So, it's that's what I wanted to add.
Islam. Yeah, that's that. It takes wisdom to see that. In situations when we're out there, like just to, sometimes somebody might be saying something that we think is ignorant, or you might want to, you know, lay it down, I guess, hit them with the truth or something. And it's like, you have to think about it. Like, where am I coming from with this? Is anything even going to be accomplished? Right? Am I just trying to boast myself up to feel superior? And if we're doing this on a regular basis, our thoughts start to align with the higher self. We don't even really have those inclinations really anymore. Right? So this is just like instructions to get us back in alignment, so that when we are in that position that we're ruling from the higher self.
Islam. If I may add, just remember that we are all servants of Allah, and through our service to our higher self, we find peace. And that is something that we must always remember, that we are always balancing the higher and lower self. And when we find that balance, that's where we have peace of mind. That's where we can demonstrate our love divine, because that's who we are. Islam.
Islam. I just want to speak back off of that. It's one way to Allah, but we all have our you know, we all have a duty to uphold, and it doesn't make anything. Not it's like it's digressive. I think that's the word I'm trying to use. It's digressive from, you know, getting the actual purpose done. Like, we're here to work. You know, don't throw anybody else's path off, you know, off center, because you don't even know what path Allah has for them. And this is what unity is showing me as well. Yeah, because we all don't know everything, but we have some type of, you know, connection to the truth because we believe in the truth, and we want to seek we seek the truth every day, all day, every day. So Islam, don't throw nobody off, and show love. The first principle, Islam.
Islam. All right. Thanks for sharing. Does anybody else have anything they wanted to demonstrate on? Okay, if not, does anybody have any questions?
Islam. When you
Islam.
went and got the definition for approbation, was it out the 1812, the 1828 dictionary? I was just wondering.
Nope. Hang on a second. I have that app. Hang on.
Islam is an app.
Yeah, it's the app for the 1828 dictionary.
Okay, Islam. I'm about to download that app. After the one meeting at the Supreme Grand Sheikh was like, we should look at that to understand the words from that time period. I was like, that's dope. Islam.
Yeah, hang on one second. Approbation says the act of approving or liking the state or disposition of the mind. In which we assent to the propriety of a thing with some degree of pleasure or satisfaction, as the laws of God require our approbation. So yeah, pretty much the same. It's a longer definition, but wanting support, wanting to receive some type of approval. The act of approving. Islam. So yeah, it's a word that we don't really use hardly ever nowadays. Islam. Yeah, does anybody else have any questions or anything that they wanted to make any statements or anything like that?
Peace. Just to kind of go off of the what was it? Appropriate. What was the word? Approbation. A lot of times, like, I'm just learning this now because, like, I've been dealing with this situation, like, pretty much throughout my childhood, and probably a lot of other young folks my age, or, you know, anybody else, Islam. But, like, yeah, I've really, like, learned to, like, truly love myself and not just in vain. I mean, like, because to really love yourself, you got to really just accept the things that are going on around you. And just because you have that feeling of self-acceptance, I mean, you have to kind of, like, you don't have to boast it or tell people all the time, like, yeah, I love myself, and be all on Instagram, you know, with the affirmations and stuff, which is good. But I'm just saying, like, all that, you don't have to do that for approval. And I just thank Allah for that, because I really have, I have been trying to find myself and was lost at the same time. So it's, it's a difficult, progression, but you got to go through hell to get to heaven as well.
Islam's on point. Thank you, brother. Definitely. One thing I want to say before we close, everybody, since we have most members on here, make sure you check your email. I'm gonna send an email either tonight or tomorrow about PayPal for the temple. So make sure you check that. All right. And if anybody else has any questions or anything, feel free to speak up. Otherwise, we're just going to go into the closing of the meeting. All right. Okay, brother Jackson Bay, would you please read the additional laws?
Islam, praise Allah, I'm to the Prophet. Question is in additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses, each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restrictions, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their added meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, it shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second, it will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If a member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for it as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3. It is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able to finance, to aid me in saving the nation. And if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while up making public speeches, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radically against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must properly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of his Sunday school comes the guidance of the nation. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865, during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must properly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Jew Ali, through the guidance of his father God Allah. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism. Brother Kobe, would you please? Oh, you know what? If you driving, brother, it's all right. Hang on.
I pulled over, Islam.
All right, Islam, brother.
I raise and give high honors to the great God Allah, raise and give honors to our prophet Noble Jew Ali, and all Muslims attending this call, and all Muslims across the world. To be proclaimed at every meeting, Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claimed I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting the funds, the ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finances so badly as I do at present, so I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nation of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam. This is an instruction from your prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of times is drawn near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Drew Ali, and that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see, but cannot see, ears to hear, but cannot hear, but least they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards to Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group or member who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law that's laid down by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Happy Holy Day, Moors.
Islamism. All right. Brother Thomas Bey, could you please read the divine warning?
Islam. I rise and give praises to Allah, honors to his prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and honors to everybody on this call. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to their national constitutions, are all one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classified as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names, abuses, and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of the free national government and cling to names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to the state and mind of their forefathers, divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizens according to free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and the earth, and it comes only through the connection to the Moorish Divine National Movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under a free national constitution of their state's government, and not under granted privilege, as has been the existing conditions for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those who know law in City Hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply. For they are glad to see me bring you out of darkness into the light. Money does not make the man. It is a free national standards and power that makes a man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belongs to the citizens alone. And without your national citizenship, by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I am hereby calling all true citizens that stand for a free national government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all American citizens of the United States of America. Help me save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of their government. I am depending on your support to get them back into the constitutional fold again, and they will learn to love instead of hate and live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people and I desire their unity and mind back to their own free national and divine standards, because day by day they have been violating the national constitutional laws of their government by clinging to names and principles that are unconstitutional. If the Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all American citizens alike. In all governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to the citizens of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro alludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word color alludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendment brought the North and the South into unit, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law was enforced since 1774, declared all men equal and free. And if all men were declared by the free national constitution to be free and equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genuine citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving cardinal customs and merely ideas of men that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true divine way, and without understanding, they have fallen from the light into utter darkness of sin. And there is not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc. In their present condition of their endeavorment, in which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world, they will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they fought the Southerners for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I am hereby calling on all true American citizens for their moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of the darkness into the marvelous light. From the prophet. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism. All right. I want to thank you, brothers, for assisting in this meeting. One thing I want to share before we close, just spoke on this before, but just in case anyone is wondering why we're Asiatics, okay, check out this page on Wikipedia, Asia, and it's spelled A-S-S-I-A-H, and look at what it says. This is coming from a Kabbalah perspective, saying Asia is the earth. It's the objective world. Remember, the objective is the physical world. It's the outer world, the physical world, where we live with our bodies in the physical world of action, including action for spiritual purpose, the world of sensible, concrete facts and their data. We are conscious of the physical realm and the laws of nature as we observe them. All right, so Asia is the physical world. We are the first people to come into the physical realm. Well, that's why we're Asiatics. Islam. So yeah, definitely check that out on when you get a chance. And want to thank you again. Happy holiday, Moors. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Everyone please rise for the closing prayer. Face the east, and you do not need to repeat after me. Allah, Bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creed and principles. We ask this in thy holy name, in the seven Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Right,
Islamism.
love Morris.
Praise Allah.
Islamism.
Hey, Islam, everybody that want to meditate, I'm on Facebook. I got a room. And if I ain't include you, just like it or whatever, we're going to do a little meditation, not something long or whatever. Islam. It start at 9:04, 9:05.
Islam, happy holy day.
Happy holiday more to Islamism.
Happy holiday.
Holy day. Praise Allah. Islam.